Well, the idea was sprung from a couple different things. I had been flying up to Portland back and forth because my little brother had me on his buddy pass for U.S. Airways, and I met a friend up there and started collaborating on music, and I ended up singing backup vocals in his band, and we started collaborating, and he sang some duets in my music and is on my new EP. Joshua Bassett, his band's name is Welfare. You should check them out. Then two of the members of Lucky Penny moved up to Seattle, and in July my car broke down and I started riding my bike everywhere, and in October my brother told me he was going to take me off the benefits, so I was like, how can I connect everything? Let's just ride our bike from one place to the other.
So just kind of a chain of events.
Yeah, one thing leads up to another, you know.
That's cool. So as far as like getting prepared for it, like what was the hardest thing kind of preparing for the trip?
Finding time to prepare for the trip was probably the hardest thing. I decided to release an album, plan a big vaudeville show fundraiser, and physically train for the trip and book shows for the trip at the same time. And it turns out doing that and working two jobs is kind of hard to juggle. So the thing that I think suffered the most was booking for the tour and physically training. I didn't train nearly as much as I had hoped, but still did a pretty good job. And then as far as training for the trip, my cool blender. Or not. As far as training for the trip, there were stuff that I didn't know I would need to train for, like waking up early every day. Like, I'm a night owl and usually sleep until 9 or 10, so when we were trying to wake up with the sun every day and leave the campsite by like 8, that ended up being really hard for me and created some tension. So like waking up on time, and then the emotional aspect of the trip of actually being in danger every day and riding down twisty, windy mountain roads is really hard.
What was the most dangerous thing you think that was of the adventure altogether?
I mean, everybody had like stuff go wrong with their bikes, so I wish I'd had a better bike for the trip. And then I think learning how to deal with twisty, windy, crazy mountain roads was really dangerous, because at first I started having panic attacks going down the roads, and I didn't know to just stop and get off my bike and chill out for a minute. Just like getting the right mindset. And I mean, in Sonoma County, they're like really aggressive drivers, and that was really hard to deal with. They would like try to push you off the road a little bit, or they'd get behind you and honk, and that was really nerve-wracking.
So what was like the most beautiful thing you saw on your adventure? And there's a lot of great stuff along the way.
Oh man, Big Sur was really beautiful. The redwoods are gorgeous. The Oregon coast is like really like treacherous and beautiful in like a whole nother way. I don't know, the whole trip was just like a teaser of like the whole coast, because you go through every area pretty quick even though you're on a bike, and it's just from day to day you're in like a whole new surrounding, and every day was like the most beautiful day of my life. Like, we were really blessed to have really beautiful weather the whole trip. We didn't have rain at all.
That's awesome.
Coming from Seattle.
That's awesome. So, I mean, as far as like doing it again, is it something you would ever do, or is this a one-time?
I would do it again. I would make some changes to the way that I did it. Like, I would probably give myself more time to rest. Rest days are really important because it gives your brain a break and it gives your muscles time to heal and rebuild and get stronger. So since we didn't have as many rest days as we probably needed, we weren't as strong by the end of the trip as we were hoping we would be. And then I would probably plan less mileage per day, because we did anywhere from 12 to 80 miles a day, and aiming more towards like 50 or 60, and like the 40-mile days were the best, because like you got somewhere early, you were still in a good mindset, you felt good, and you could explore an area before it was time to set up camp and make dinner. Did
you feel that doing so much per day kind of affected your shows or your playing? Like, by the time you got to a show, were you so tired?
Actually, all the shows were really good. The shows were one of the highlights of the whole trip. Like, every show was different and like really beautiful, and I met all kinds of people. There was one, the show in Mendocino was at a little place called Frankie's Pizza, and my friend had booked it for me last minute, and I missed a day in the tour book when I planned the itinerary, and one of our rest days ended up being a 60-mile riding day instead. So we rode 7 days in a row. On the 7th day I had my show, and also on that day we went over the tallest climb on the Pacific coast, cycling route. So no pressure. That was hard, but then once we got into town, it's like we had a show to go to. Like, spirits are high, we got a free pizza for playing, and then I traded a CD for the biggest ice cream sandwich that I've ever had. It was amazing.
So is there anything else you want to kind of share about your adventure, your trip? Like good words of advice, anything for somebody that would want to try to do something similar?
Just like have confidence in yourself, like, and trust yourself, and if, like in anything you need to do, if you get scared, just stop for a minute, you know, and just keep going. And if you keep going, you'll get there. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like no matter what challenges we came across, like we always kept going, and there's something in that, you know.